The president has accused the public protector of breaking privacy barriers by leaking information he deems as private to the media. Now, in studio, we're joined by political analyst Xolani Dube to discuss the developments of the story. Good afternoon, Xolani, and thanks for joining us. So now, what conclusion can we draw regarding the fact that the president has actually come out now with this information and calling it an offense, you know, before the actual publication of the private information? Of course, he wants to squash it or, you know, to have it sealed. But what is actually going on?
We have to bear in mind that politics is about perception.
Yes.
And the perception that was created prior Cyril Ramaphosa ascend into this highest office,
yes,
he was being typecast as the paragon of morality and ethical leader.
Yes.
And moreover, he was somebody that we thought that the issues of secrecy and the issues of backhand manipulation into our state entities, especially to the president, is the issue of the past.
Yes.
But he is so sad that, as George Orwell always made it clear, that the more things change, the more they stay the same. It seems as if we are going back again to that narrative of Jacob Zuma, where he was confronting Thuli Madonsela on issues of transparency, because that is the most important thing in that presidency. And so it seems as if we have not shifted the paradigm. We are still frozen or in that particular secrecies where people that don't want to come out clean and tell us really who is this power behind power, because South Africa can be led by invisible hands. We need to know these people. And so for the president to protect these individuals and then not protecting us as citizens, I think he forsaken his constitutional role to protect the South African citizens.
So is this doing any, how much of damage is this doing to his image as president?
Look, you have to understand that when you're talking about damage to Cyril Ramaphosa, it is not something that is applicable anymore.
Yes.
If you look at the issue of Marikana, you got, I mean, that damage, you know, post-apartheid, a political organization that is supposed to protect the lives of those that they claim to liberate. And they were really in a very uncomfortable way wiped out of the face of this earth. And so from there he ascended to become the president of the country. And so when you talk about the issue of reputation and Cyril Ramaphosa, I guess is up to the media and is up to the elite who keep on cleansing his image. Possible not for us, maybe for themselves.
Okay. So now the public protector has suffered a few legal setbacks in cases, you know, in recent cases. Her image is also being tainted and damaged by the fact that by the judgments that have been passed in some of the previous cases in the last few weeks.
You have to understand that it seems as if the mission of the ANC is to chisel these institutions that are supposed to protect us. What she's suffering is the same thing that Thuli Madonsela suffered. You get, I mean, it's the same thing that Bulelani Ngcuka suffered when he was trying to deal with the issues of Meg Maharaj and the others. And so it's clearly an indication that the ANC believe that they are untouchable. And if you touch them, they will rather act like Solomon and destroy all the pillars that's supposed to protect our democracy.
What do you make about the closeness that the public protector has with the EFF, for example, and other political parties that have joined her in some of these court battles?
Look, you have to understand also that Ngcuka Itobi is going to be the lawyer or an advocate arguing for the case of the president. And so a profession, and there is always kind of a client to the advocacy kind of professionalism. And so when it comes to the EFF, you have to bear in mind that the EFF is an opposition party. They are becoming opportunistic. It's their role to widen up cracks that are there, that are existing. And so there is nothing wrong that EFF is doing. They have to flip-flop. If they flip-flop and it makes them good to the constituency and makes them get more constituency for the vote. And so there's nothing wrong. It's what the politicians is all about.
So it's all a political game.
Precisely.
And so, okay, now I know you're not a legal expert, but what about the legality, the legal prescripts of the entire matter? Can we gauge how far the public protector can go to obtain certain information that would not be in the public interest?
You know what is very interesting? We always have a point of reference when we argue. Remember that is the same argument that when the Gupta leaks were made public, people were saying, how dare can you expose something that you obtain illegally? But there were a lot of so-called civil society movements, and those who claim to be on the side of moral and ethic leadership, and the veterans, the ANC veterans, as well as the Integrity Committee, and a lot of people who went to the mountain and say, look, it's not an issue how these leaks were obtained, but the most important thing is the content. And so I think the same thing is supposed to be applicable even in this instance, to say, let's look at the content of these leaks, if they are valid or not, rather than to check how they were obtained, because that is not going to take our country forward. What we want as citizens of this country is to know if there is patronage, there is dependency that was created prior our president went or occupied the office. That is very important.
Yes. So can we really say that the PP, that the public protector, has crossed the line with regards to handling this information said to be illegally obtained?
Look, nowadays we live in an information age. And so it's very difficult to withhold information. People, they hack. People, they do everything in order to obtain information. And bear in mind that the ANC is not a church. Even in church, there are fights. And the people who are there in ANC, they use the intelligence operatives and intelligence acquirements to obtain certain of this information, so that they strengthen their factional positions. And now, so I think it's what is happening even in this case.
Okay, so what do you think the outcome will be tomorrow?
It's very interesting. The outcome, I think it was dictated, if I can say it, or it was highlighted last week when the ANC came out in support of its president. And so bear in mind that the ANC, without Cyril Ramaphosa, is at its weakest link, its weakest points. And so they need him. But now, the role of Cyril Ramaphosa, it will be a lame duck, because those that we thought that are corrupt, they are saying now, look, you, the paragon of morality and ethic, you will co-govern with us in the ANC, as well as in the country will be part of you. And so here, we are going to have a president for the next 4 years, who's not going to speak with authority in terms of corruption, in terms of people manipulating state-owned enterprises because they want to feed the hands that feed them, those invisible hands. And so we are having a very compromised president. It's so unfortunately that he has been compromised before he even finished the 100 days. We know that JZ was compromised, but him, he's like a duck. You pour water and the careless about whatever that we say.
So what do you say to those people who say that this is a smear campaign against President Ramaphosa?
It's not. It's not at all. It's not a smear campaign, because here we need to know the truth. Those things that are there, they are not something that comes out of conspiracy. There are monies channeled to people, and those people, some of them are serving in his cabinet, and their accounts, there is a paper trail. And so a smear campaign, I think, is a conspiracy. Here is no longer an issue of conspiracy. It's an issue of reality, that we have a president who went into Nazareth at the behest of certain people. And those people, at the end of the day, logic dictates that they have to gain what we call it return of investment. And so some of them who are mentioned in these newspapers are already being allocated certain powerful position, and others are enjoying in terms of coal and so forth. And so it's a very worrying situation. How are we going to finish, how this man is going to finish his term, whereas we know very well that he's already handicapped. And so we must not bend the truth because we are in a very awkward position. We might, even if we were, South Africa is in an awkward position in terms of economy and so forth, even in terms of leadership. But what is very important when we are in that crossroad, we need not to bend the truth. We need to be on the side of the truth, because it's only truth as a South African that can take us across.
So you're basically saying that transparency is key, that the slate has to be clean.
The truth is supposed to be what guide us, because if we are going to be guided by emotions and we know that we have bent the truth in the past with JZ and the others, and we are reaping those rewards of us bending the truth, and now we need not to bend the truth. If Cyril needs to be sacrificed for the salvation of our country, let it be.
Okay, we'll have to let it be there. Thank you so much.